All right, this video here, we're going to be discussing some things that either a lot of people don't know, don't believe, or think that it's too difficult to do. And that's going to be destroying Axis tanks or getting kills on them using aircraft that have 20mm Spano or 50 cals. And in the video, we're going to be showing you where to hit the tanks and how to hit them in order to not slam into the ground or break your wings. And lastly, we're occasionally going to be offering like some commentary and insight into the thought process and other things to keep in mind that might help you out whenever you're in game doing it yourself. All right, first up, we're going to be checking out the 20mm. And there's quite a few reasons why I don't suggest the 20mm to be the first choice for someone that's new and learning how to strafe. And personally, even for myself, if my goal is to go out there and strafe tanks, 20mm is not going to be the plane that I'm going to be choosing. The reasons why are because almost all the planes in the game that have the cannons are going to be wing mounted, so you have to worry about convergence. And on top of that, you don't have much cannon ammo. And then to make that even worse, every plane in the game except for one has the Hispano cannons belted to where it's, I believe, every third bullet is the AP round, which means that's the only bullet that's able to kill the tank, assuming you manage to land that bullet on the kill spot. That being said, it's still definitely possible to make kills with it. Let's go ahead and continue with the video and start with our first tank. And before we start, a quick thanks to the guy helping out in all these video clips. The one flying is going to be Nice Nick. He uses an Xbox controller here, and as you can see, it's pretty smooth. He's pretty decent with it. Just letting you know this because a lot of people think you might have to have some expensive setup and stuff, but really not the case. All it comes down to is some practice and a positive mindset. First up is going to be a Panther 38T. Keep that pipper a little low and pull the trigger when you're in range. Next up is the 3 Series. Despite being earlier models, it's one of the harder ones to kill. It needs a top-down shot like this one. You hear he cut the throttle. That's really the key to any of these high-angle shots, to not breaking your plane in the process. The throttle cut, he goes in, lines it up, keeps that pipper a little bit low. After he makes the shot, he's going to give it about a 60-70% pull. You hope the plane scream a little, but no damage done, barely over 8 Gs. Throttle back up and continue on. And now we got a StuG III B here. Go ahead and just imagine we're just first approaching the battle here. Might even know where it's at based on the marks on the map. Let's go ahead and line up. A rear shot can take care of this one pretty easily, just like the 38T, maybe a slightly higher angle. Keep the pipper a little low. Next, we're going to be going in for a side shot on the same thing. Zoomed in there to give you an idea. Like, just notice you spot it in the field, then you go to line up afterwards. Try to keep your eye on it at first until you get used to it. One of the hardest things at first is just being able to find the target and then remember where it's at. Once you get that down, the rest of it will start to fall into place with enough practice. Lines up for a shot, keeps the pipper a little bit low. And all these Hispano clips that Nick's taken here, he's been using 300-meter conversions. You notice those shots are all in convergence, not too bad. Last of all, we're going to do a top-down shot. He's doing a climb here. That's where the Spitfires really shine. They can climb pretty good. It lets you get a good hop angle without wasting a lot of time. You hear that? He cut that throttle. Keep the pipper a little low. Plane's going to scream again, but with that throttle cut, barely over 8 Gs, no damage. Good to go. Got the 4D here. The main way to get this one's going to be a side shot like this here. Keep it a little low. Pull when you're in range. You usually get the kill. 4G is fun and easy. You just keep it low. Imagine you're shooting the rear left side of a car bumper. It'll usually take it out. Got the 4H here, rear shot. Notice it's already smoking. It's because you're not always going to get the kill on the first shot. It might take a few passes. Here's the high angle option. You hear that? Throttle cut. Lines up, keeps it a little low like usual. Again with that throttle cut, that's really the key to these high shots. Camo StuG's coming up here. Best way to take these out is going to be another high angle shot. Hear that throttle cut? He keeps it low. Gives it a pull, little scream, barely any Gs. Last up's the Panther. Everybody on the ground complains about it, but for us, it's not that much different than any other tank. You hear that throttle get cut? He lines up on this Panther. Try to get that top turret, rear deck area. Plane screams, barely any Gs like usual. Let's hope you got some more Panthers in the spawn list. Last but not least, let's check out the 50s. My personal favorite, and I think the best one for anybody new and learning, can be the P40B, or as we like to call it, the Mommy Hawk. It's got 2 cal mounted 50 cals, so you don't got to worry about convergence. The 50 cal has a real high velocity, flat firing. You can kind of snipe with it once you get good with it. Good at taking out enemy planes, but in this case here, we're worried about tanks. It's great at doing that. Got tons of ammo. Comes out in tier 1 as the French version, the Hawk 81. Overall, it's one of my favorites. Starting off with the 3 series, and again, this is an early tier tank, but it's one of the harder to kill. Your best bet's always to be to take your time and get a high angle shot on it. He's doing just that, going the climb, keeping his eye on it. Since Nick here is more experienced, he feels like he doesn't need to cut the throttle in this situation, but when you're first starting off, it might be best to do that. You notice high velocity here. You can keep the pipper right on target. For the StuG III B, high angle top's going to be the best bet. You can hear he cuts the throttle here, making it burble like the start of a Van Halen song. Keeps that pipper right on target. Pulls out. Plane doesn't even scream. It's all because that throttle was cut. 4G here. And just like last time with the Hispanos, you can't do that rear bumper shot, but he's doing the top-down approach just to show it's possible. Notice it's smoking, because not every pass is going to be a kill. Sometimes it's going to take a couple rounds. All right, next up, we're going to have the later variant camo StuGs. We already know that it's a top-down shot based on the earlier 20mm videos we watched. We're going to show a couple more options that you can have fun with whenever you're a little bit more experienced. Clip starts full speed in the dive without the throttle cut, but he still gets plenty of trigger time. He's able to pull out, almost blacks out a little bit there. The plane screams, but there's probably little to no damage done to the frame at all. He starts using all that energy to be able to loop up and back over again, get another pass on the target. And this is handy because you don't always get a kill on the first pass, you know? He cuts the throttle here. And just check out all the trigger time he gets on this thing. Pulls up, plane barely made a noise there. All right, last but not least, we got the Panther here. You're going to be noticing he hasn't been cutting the throttle that much here with the P40. It's not because he's showing off, but it's because, like I initially mentioned, with the cowl-mounted 50s, you got that high velocity right there in the nose. So you don't have to worry about convergence. You don't have to worry about the bullet dropping that much. It goes right on target, and it's still able to penetrate at a long range. I'm not sure what it is, but there's something incredibly satisfying about some of these smug Panther enjoyers back at the spawn screen with the Mommy Hawk. And that about covers all the Axis tanks. We excluded a couple of the very early, lightly armored ones, such as the Panzerjäger 1 and the Scout Car 232. But those can be basically point and clicked with any of the 30 cal weapons that the Brits have. Using 50s and 20mm is very easy with those, and it's almost overkill. The Tiger, it can be killed, and it can be killed with any plane, but Commander's hatch has to be open. And whenever the hatch is open, you just basically fly at it from a 45-degree angle and shoot rounds right into the hatch. Sometimes it'll explode, and sometimes you'll just kill the gunner. And aside from that, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it down in the comments. If you have any other angles that we might not have mentioned here, feel free to share them if you want. And if you have any questions or problems, or if you want to practice it at all, feel free to hit us up at any time. And thanks again for Nice Nick flying and making these recordings while he strafed me endlessly there. And I hope it helps. Have a good one, guys.